did I tell you this hood is driving me completely insane? The trash that gets in it, the crackling, cracking, whatever happened to it. I'm trying to get it right, and I'm getting very close. I've got a lot of other stuff that I'm working on as far as like the truck goes, as far as the painting goes. So let's take a look at where we're at with the Jeep restoration and the hood. Lord have mercy. Haven't quite figured this one out. I did a review on the carport that I put in the backyard, and then I get a call from a trucking company. Hey, we got something to be delivered, and they delivered another one. So, I mean, I know I didn't pay for it. I have no idea why I got a second one. Alright, I'm in the paint booth. I painted the tailgate last night, and I did fight with the bugs a little bit, and I keep thinking it was bugs, got bugs. And then I started looking at the paint booth. When I put the spray booth up, right, the top touched the bottom and it was wet, and I rolled it up, and then I rolled it back down, and I've sprayed out the filters and the floor, but I've never sprayed the roof. Now, let me show you what, I've got a piece of tape, and I can show you. You see that crap? See that crap right there? That's what was falling in the paint. Those little black specks. You can see it all in the tape right there. Well, I think what happens is this booth is not rigid, of course, and as it's blowing and you're in and out and it's blowing a lot of air through it, it basically becomes a dirt shaker. So it was falling down in the paint. Now it's a pretty quick fix. All I got to do is take a pressure washer and spray down all the top and let that dry before I start painting. But it took me a while to figure that out. I kept finding like bugs, dirt in the paint. I'm like, where is this coming from? Well, that's where it's coming from the ceiling. If you used to watch the old Saturday Night Live shows, Rosanna Dana, her famous tagline was, "It's always something." And you know what? With painting cars, it's always something. I found out that a paint booth can catch dirt on the top of it, and it rains down into your paint as you're painting clear coat. Awesome. I love it. I'm working on the tailgate. I sprayed it last night. It came out really actually nice. I got to work on the doors. Once I get the doors prepped and painted, then the truck is pretty much ready to paint as far as the tub goes and the windshield. There's not much left over there, 2 front fenders. So I'm excited about that. I'm going to take the paint booth down for now, and I've got some buffing to do on the hood and the tailgate. Well, I got the tailgate buffed out, and it looks beautiful, very shiny. Got rid of all the orange peel, and the interesting thing is, I'm fairly confident this door hasn't been repainted or anything, and there's way more orange peel in it than the tailgate that I buffed out. So the bar is not high, I guess is what I'm trying to say. You can see on this one, at some point somebody tried to peel off the VIN label, or maybe did peel off the VIN label like this, and it's pretty much toast at that point. And the tire thing, I have to take it off to paint. But I have a surprise for that, so keep watching. I did find a new supplier who is just absolutely awesome with these VIN labels, so I will be doing a video on where to get yours from them at a reasonable price. So anyway, I'll be taking that off and start prepping on the door. Alright, so I found all the imperfections in the door pretty much, I believe. No more dents. Gonna putty those up and then sand it, prime it, get ready to shoot it. Alright, so the dings are filled in and we're ready to prime as soon as this gets real good and dry. Alright, I got my paint booth set up again, and what have I learned? Well, I need to pressure wash the crap out of it, make sure there's nothing hanging on the roof. I can see black specks all over it. So let me pressure wash it, then I want to make sure that it's clean, because if it's just going to drop crap down in my paint job, it's really kind of defeating all the purpose, isn't it? Okay, I pressure washed the crap out of this thing, so hopefully there'll be no bugs in the ceiling dropping down into my paint job. We'll find out. I may even take a tack rack and just go over it lightly on the ceiling when I do it, but man, I don't know. This is driving me crazy. Maybe some bug killer, some fogging around the paint booth when I'm ready to paint. I don't know. But there's the hood. It's about to go in here after this quits dripping And then I'll let this thing dry out. Tomorrow's the day. Well, this is sad. I'm out here. It's about 2 in the morning. I'm painting. Final clearing of the hood is coming up, but pressure washing, cleaning everything, still getting a few little bugs in there, but not near like I was before. It's turned out real nice, so hopefully it'll buff out just fine. One thing I need to remember with this clear is that I'm putting it on really thick and probably need to give it at least 48 hours before I start buffing. Some of the thinner stuff you can do like right away. This you need to let it cure out a little bit and set up. Otherwise you can actually start shifting it or burning it with a puffer. So anyway, I'm going to give it about 30 minutes, put that last coat on, and then hopefully no bugs, go to bed. If the frapping bugs will just stay out of it for the next 15-20 minutes, man, that's some thick clear. And it'll buff out beautiful if it'll just dry with no bugs in it. Oh ho ho. Okay, finally I got it painted. Now, absolutely there's some issues with it that's going to have to be fixed, but it's easy to fix. I've got some runs. You can see there's some runs right here on that edge, which is okay because we can wet sand that out. Just let it dry really well, and then we'll block sand those little runs out. And I got one run right here. But as far as like the biggest problem that I was having was trash. This is some, let me tell you how thick this clear is, man. It is unbelievably thick. So this has got plenty on there to buff out, and it's going to look beautiful as long as I don't burn it off. So all these little dingleberries right here on the bottom, they don't concern me at all. I'll sand those off, wet sand them down, and should be just fine. And it's on the bottom edge, so whatever. The top of it looks spectacular as far as like being able to wet sand it out. No bugs or anything, and that was a fight, let me tell you. But I am super happy with this. Well, it's the next morning after painting the hood for the 50th time. But I am glad that I got it done last night. I got finished at about 3:30 in the morning. I've already taken the spray booth down. I've moved the hood around. It's like 85, but it feels like 110 out here. Let me tell you, it is steamy hot. And there's no way I could have been inside a paint booth painting this thing today. So I am thrilled that I got it done last night. Now I tell you, the first thing that you want to do after you paint something like this and you get a ton of clear on it and you get a couple little runs in it, you want to start sanding. You want to start the next morning going, oh, it's probably dry enough. Guess what? It's not. It is not dry enough. This is dry to the touch, no problem. You're not going to get any more bugs in it, but it is not anywhere near cured out. So I'm probably going to let it sit 2 or 3 days because the clear is so thick on this, I've learned from experience. And then I can start wet sanding it down and buffing it out, and I think it's going to turn out absolutely beautiful because this clear is so stinking thick on here. I got plenty to sand off. The few anybody that looks at this might say, you know, man, you got a couple runs in there, and you know what, who cares? The biggest problem that I had with painting the hood, honestly, was, you know, if you get a mosquito in there and he leaves his legs trying to get all that crap out of it inside the clear coat, and on white surface, it just is like really sometimes almost impossible. If you get any trash at all, it's very noticeable. So I am thrilled with the way it came out. I got very, very little trash. I actually took bug fog and fogged the inside of the paint booth about an hour before I painted because there's these little gnats. And I think a lot of it, I read about this, believe it or not, a lot of these gnats come because we water our backyard quite a bit during this hot summer to keep grass, and they like water. So that's probably, I'm creating that by having grass in my backyard. So trying not to be a redneck is causing redneck paint jobs, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to go in, just let this thing dry, and then the next thing I'm going to be doing is working on the doors, getting them prepped, and then all my externals pretty much will be done. And I can start doing the cab itself, the tub, which I'm not sure as much. The tub is going to be easier to paint than this hood, I promise you that, because there's just not much more. Because if you get a little run in the back of the tub, but on the hood, it makes a big difference. So anyway, I'm going to go in, stop sweating for a little bit, drink some coffee, think about being up at 3 in the morning as an old fat white guy and move on from there. I'm thrilled with the way this looks though. Absolutely, I think it's going to stand out just fine. How many times have you heard me say that? Well, I got the driver's side door sanded down and washed, and a lot of people ask, how do you know that you've wet sanded enough? And you know, truthfully, the matter is you can feel it. You can feel roughness. You can look at the surface and see if you've got a bunch of orange peel or anything in it. I've got just a little bit over here, which is fine because this is just the initial sanding. I'm going to sand it down one more time before I paint it. So basically I just roughed it out to make sure that there's no issues with the body work that I did, the small imperfections, the dents that were in the door. Basically I sanded it down to make sure that where the little dings and dents in the door, there's no problems with that, because you don't want to be doing a bunch of body work once you painted the other side. So I'm thinking it looks really good. Should be able to paint the opposite side, the inside of the door, and then I'll wet sand it down again, making sure that there's no imperfections again on the outside, because just like the hood, the outside is the more important part than the inside for this. But it looks really good with as far as like the primer and the body work, and there's no imperfections really that stand out. So I'll let this dry, we'll flip it over, and I'll start getting ready to wet sand the other side. Okay, so I sanded this, wet sanded it down with 1500 grit, and then 2000, and then 3000. And I'll be honest with you, this is probably about as good as I can do, right? With considering the constraints that I have as far as like painting outside, bugs, everything else. This is probably one of the best hoods that I've ever painted. And I'm still not completely happy with it, but I'm 99.9% happy with it. So I think it's going to buff out beautiful. This is like, I think I painted it 3 times, maybe 3.5. Mostly because of the bugs. I scraped one side of it, had a dent in it, on and on and on. But I really do believe once I buff this out, as long as I don't destroy it buffing it, it's going to turn out just absolutely beautiful. And then I'll be done with this thing, except for maybe a little touch up on the inner edge, which, you know, no big deal. I can even do that after it's on the truck, but I just really want to be done with the hood and then finish up the 2 doors, and then let's get this thing painted. So we're going to buff it out, and then I'll show you what it looks like. Oh, and one more thing. If you remember in another video, I was using a Milwaukee buffer, and this thing for doing like a rough cut or anything like this, this thing sucks. I am like the #1 Milwaukee fan in the world, but this does not have the torque needed to get down into the paint, to buff it out, and keep up the RPMs. If you put any pressure on it at all, it starts to slow down, which kind of defeats your purpose. So this thing, maybe if you're doing car waxing, this would be good, but if you're trying to buff out a car, throw this in the trash and get you a Makita. That's a workhorse, and that thing's, I've had it for probably 5 or 6 years. I've ripped the cord off of it, taped it back together, and it still works. So there you go. Alright, with just that small amount of polishing, it's turning out really, really nice. So I'm going to go ahead and finish buffing. You don't have to keep watching because it doesn't get any more exciting. But I'm going to be just thrilled with the way this turns out. And tomorrow we'll look at it in the sunlight because that's going to be really the test. These LEDs and fluorescent lights are hard to tell what it's going to actually look like in the sun. Oh yeah, got a pretty good bead on that one. I hope you can see it. There's one of those black bugs right there, bastards. Got a great bead on it. Now, do I see some like little surface stuff that bugs me? Yes. Will I wait till I get the hood on the truck and maybe wet sand it and buff it then? Yes, because I'm ready to be done with this for now, anyway. As far as like being a paint job that you can live with, I could live with it right now. It looks great, especially when it gets out in the sun. White will blind you anyway. But this looks really nice. I am super happy with it. But this is awesome. Low trash, good gloss. In the morning we'll take a look at it and I'll show you what I'm talking about. But I'm happy with it. Alright, this is the next morning, and I'm very pleased with the polishing. I've still got a little bit more to do, but I am done for now. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to just... You can see the reflection in the hood. I'm done for now as far as the polishing goes. I'll polish it more when it's on the truck a little bit. There's still a ton of clear on this thing, but this is ready to go. Next is the door. So all I need to do now is not damage the hood getting it back over to the shop where it will be reunited with the Jeep once I get it painted. Alright, as darkness has fallen upon me, that's going to be the end of this video. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, didn't he have the hood painted and it was clear coated and he was buffing it out, and why is he buffing it out again? That is true. If you've been a subscriber and you've been watching, what happened is I didn't let it dry long enough. That new high solid's clear. I tried to do it like the next day or late that day, and when I went down and tried to buff it, I actually moved some of the clear coat and just jacked it all up. So I had to resand it and do it again, and that's why I said in the video that I needed to make sure to let it cure out, because 2 or 3 days is not too long to wait to not destroy you know, your work. But it turned out really beautiful. I'm happy with it. I think I solved some of the issues with the paint booth, and some of it I'm just going to have to deal with. So overall, I'm super happy with the hood. Got the doors coming up next, and then the rest of the truck, and then we reassemble. So I'm moving towards the goal, right? Appreciate you being a subscriber, watching, giving the comments that you do. Crackling, whatever that was. All those comments about that, appreciate it. Any questions, post them below. I'm David from the Redneck Garage. Keep turning wrenches.